All right, the third assignment that I want you to complete this week is looking at different scenarios that show dictatorship, but not just looking at them and reading them, but highlighting the evidence that you're reading in the scenarios that tell us it's a dictatorship. So this video is going to have me reading the scenarios aloud. You do not have to watch it if you're comfortable reading them by yourself. Also, don't forget we have the Google Read and Write if you're okay listening to that computer-generated voice read the different scenarios. So let's start looking at the top with a review of the common characteristics to dictatorship. So I'm up top here. A dictatorship is an unlimited type of government, and common characteristics include, 1, it is unlimited. What does that mean again? That means that rulers are not bound by laws. They're not bound by a constitution. They can kind of do as they please. Typically, government rules through force and fear. Citizens cannot choose or change their leaders, so leaders end up ruling for many years. Sometimes even there might be elections, but they're not fair, they're not free, and they're typically rigged. In a dictatorship, citizens have no guaranteed rights. Dissent is punished, which means citizens cannot publicly criticize or complain about the government, and the press media is often controlled by the government and is censored. So there are 3 different scenarios, and in each of them, I'm going to tell you right away, they all are showing dictatorships. None of them are real countries. But as I read it, I want you to be listening for evidence, keywords and phrases that tell us that that country does in fact have a dictatorship. And then you're going to go back and highlight it. So the first one says, Country A has a lovely landscape and access to modern technology. It has a constitution in place. However, the constitution is rarely followed by the government. Its citizens are guaranteed rights as long as they show public support of the government. There is a newscast every night at 8 p.m., which broadcasts only approved content. The country holds elections to select new representatives in its government every 2 years. The same representatives run each time without anyone running against them. Election day is full of celebrations. Everyone has the day off of work. So, you need to identify 2 characteristics of dictatorships that are evident in country A, and there are actually more than 2. But if you're looking at them and you have to highlight them in green. One thing that stood out to me, when I see there's a newscast every night at 8 p.m., that's not what stands out. But the fact that it only broadcasts approved content, that stands out to me. So maybe that's one that you want to highlight. To highlight, you go up to your toolbar right up here. This is the highlighter. And if you ever want to know what these are, you could just hover your mouse right over it. But you hit highlight color in any of these greens. I like a bright green, would be good. So from here, you can pause my video if you're using this and find another piece of evidence and highlight it. Okay, country B, this is number 2. Country B is known for its beautiful lakes and waterfalls. It has a ruler that took power by killing the previous ruler. While many citizens do not like this new leader, they know if they complain publicly, they might be thrown in jail as a dissident. A dissident is a person who publicly opposes the government. It is common for the police to search people's homes and help themselves to people's food and belongings. Country B has a strong manufacturing sector and a strong economy. So again, you need to identify 2 characteristics of dictatorships that are evident in country B. And highlight them in green. If you're following along with me, you can pause my video and do that right now. The last scenario is number 3 about country C. So country C is a landlocked country without direct access to waterways. All of the citizens living in this country work in the manufacturing industry. They are not allowed to work in any other jobs. The government gives each citizen a certain amount of food each week. The leader has been in control for 20 years. While initially coming to power after a revolution, As a hero of the revolution, most citizens are too afraid to run against him in the country's elections. In fact, most agree that the elections are just for show, but are afraid to speak up as they do not want to face harsh punishment. This next part that you have to do is just a little bit different than the other ones. Country C is a dictatorship. Highlight one part of the passage in green that is evidence of that. Then, in the space below, explain how the characteristic you chose would be different in a democracy. So that last part, that's the only typing that you have to do on today's assignment. Make sure whatever characteristic you pick, make sure you explain how it would be different in a democratic style government. As usual, let me know if you have any questions and have a good rest of your day working.